Okay, great. Well, we're
And we're
back and we're
back.
bolloping. So, I
Back in the
believe.
polyp seat.
So we're back. We're drinking. I got a Presidente here.
How I wish. How I wish I had that. I have
It's
a Coke Zero.
it's not a Coke Zero,
I
but
wish.
it's certainly unique to maybe more the East Coast. They got
You know,
Presidentes out there in the Bay.
you know, I haven't been able to find anything resembling a Dominican community out here.
It's
I
interesting.
don't, I really don't think there's, I mean, I certainly can't find any Dominican food. I don't hear anyone speaking what I have come to understand as Dominican Spanish.
It's Dominican. Yeah.
There's
So
really no,
so basically, if a couple homies from out here were to open a bodega and a barber shop, it would be just prime time real estate.
I
Because they
mean,
would be the ones.
yes, yes, I think so. I think there's a market for. I know there have to be Dominican people here.
Well, it's
There
not
must
just
be.
that, it's someone's never had Mangu. And someone will
Also
be
that.
introduced to Mangu, and then the rest will be history.
It's true.
And a chimi, I don't know if you've had a chimi, that's a great Dominican burger. It's,
Oh no, I've never had that.
yeah, special sauce. It's the only time where I like meat well done.
That's
Usually,
interesting.
I'm
Why?
very against it. But with a chimney in a burger, because it's not really a steak. I mean, usually I like a burger medium rare too, but in a
Yeah, yeah,
chimney,
but
it's
why
supposed to
is it
be
well done in
thin.
a? Oh,
It's supposed to be a thinner meat. It's not supposed to be as, juicy. Um, so speaking of juicy, we're in the middle of a fucking
yeah.
Cellino
Speaking
and
of beef, we were
Barnes.
talking about Barnes.
We're in a middle of a Barnes novella here. So let's see. Oh yeah, so Cellino was taking the hit last time we spoke. He was maybe even unfairly taking the hit for mistaken retainer agreement. So it and right. And then there's also been a lot of back and forth between them because uh Cellino feels like the NBA Daryl Chambella was taking too much of the leadership.
That's
Guy's not
right.
a JD, not a Esquire, but he did help coin the famous jingle. But he's also making a lot of the big decisions. Barnes is going with him. Cellino feels he's being kind of put to the side. Cellino at this point is saying, "I feel guilty making 8 million a year," because he feels he's just going in there to sit
In
down.
in in 1990s Buffalo money.
Yeah, I mean, I think by this point they have expanded, but
Yeah,
yeah. So it took 19 months for Cellino to be readmitted. So there's just some back. It took
right.
19 months, and while he was not practicing law, he was doing manual labor, building fences, planting trees, helping out for Habitat for Humanity. So character building.
His character building and I gotta say I really love that these are his passions. No one made him go do this. He could have done anything. He could have
Right,
started buying old Porsches or some shit like that. Instead, he's building
right,
houses for poor people.
right, right. He could
I
have.
mean, really, I'm really loving the arc that this guy is
Right. I
experiencing here.
know. I wasn't expecting
I,
it.
I didn't walk into any of this expecting to hear that. This is like this would have been like if the City Island episode ended with all 200 people who are at City Island giving local residents like "Please forgive me" cards throughout the neighborhood for getting
Or
into a fight.
like if in the middle of the fight, ooh, the ultimate crossover. If in the middle of the fight, Reform Cellino comes in and says,
Any
"Hold up,"
broker's piece.
and he brokers and he does, "Hold up,
Well,
free pro bono mediation." What's the issue here?
right
Well,
here
this
on the side,
motherfucker took my
he,
scallops.
he brings the fold out table with him. He puts it right in the parking lot.
There will be no tables, ladders, chairs here, gentlemen. Salino's pro bono.
He's like nailing the table down to the
I
floor.
know.
The table
Like
shall not leave.
he's like, God damn it! I built fucking tables in the woods for Habitat for Humanity, not to see this happen right in my hometown, third hometown of the Bronx City Island. Yes. Um. So yeah. So Cellino's going through this, reformation. He wants to return. He wants to contribute, but Barnes has been less welcoming. In a 2018 deposition, it said it took months to get Barnes to change the name back to include Cellino's name, continued to be involved. Like I said, he felt guilty making the money. He was feeling pretty much, removed from a lot of decision making.
So while he's away for a year and a half, they
hmm
even took his name off the company.
Yeah, it was Barnes.
Just Barnes.
And I think I remember this too, because I remember for a period of time hearing the Barnes firm, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. Maybe he just I
That's
didn't think
crazy.
necessarily malice. I was like, maybe there's something, maybe there's not. I didn't really look into it, but now I'm starting to see what was going on. So yeah, and then between Jambella, the MBA, who's changing the direction, he feels like there's not much room for him, but finally, he lets him back in to, the thing that he pretty much helped to found in the first place, and going all the way back, it was his father that actually got Barnes Senior to get Barnes Junior to join.
Right.
Um, so
Hmm.
anyway, Barnes acknowledges that Chambella's ascendancy, so ascendance to make more decisions while Cellino's away, source of tension. Daryl, in many ways, was brains behind much of the firm's success. Don't know if Ross doesn't want to admit it. I think he knows it in his heart. He does concede that Chambella rubs some people the wrong way. I mean, going with your primal urges can do that, Barnes. I mean, we can't forget. We're not all
Anything's
like you.
possible when you follow the
Right.
prime rib.
The prime- that was the rib that, that was how God made woman from the prime rib.
I was gonna say that's how he made the urge to give birth.
Right. They gave birth. And adding to the tension, okay, his girlfriend, Barnes' girlfriend, that is, Ellen Sturm, who
I just
Barnes.
want to lift like a woman wants to give birth.
You imagine just like benching and then just going, honey, how bad do you want to push a child through your fucking vagina right now? Like, could you imagine just doing that while you're doing fucking benches? And what? Just thinking she's like doing kegels or something. I don't even fucking know. Anyway, uh,
Get ready to push.
okay, we're training. Um,
Training.
so, uh, so, uh, the other issue here is yes, his girlfriend, Cellino is feeling like his girlfriend is also taking up space and like talking trash behind his back, and he's been away for a while, so I guess she's been saying some stuff about him to other people, and he
Woo.
returned less than ceremoniously, so a lot of drama's building up. Um,
That's a lot of shit to talk
Cellino
about a man who makes $8 million a year.
Yeah, and so Celino says, when you approached me about having Ellen, that's Barnes' girlfriend, joining the firm, you assured me your relationship would not interfere with the management of the firm. This is in 2014 email to Barnes. The same statement was made about your brother. To your brother's credit, because the brother also joined in some capacity as well, especially while Celino, I think, was away. And to your brother's credit, he has not interfered with the operation of the firm. The same cannot be said about Ellen, his girlfriend. Okay. So I think that's pretty much
2014 that email was sent.
this is 2014 now. Yeah, so we still
Wow.
got we still got a little bit of time.
Holy moly. Okay.
All right, so I think now we're pretty much uh, caught up to right where we about left off. So yeah, so for all this absentee leadership respect, the period after Salino's suspension actually had growth. In 2009, for going back to that ad campaign, when asked which
Hmm.
law firm they would hire, event of an accident injury, 4 out of 5 Western New Yorkers chose Salino and Barnes over all other law firms. Again, this is in 2009, still when we're talking about Western New York. So they still are doing pretty good for the market. I don't think this is taken into account yet their expansion when they finally
Sure,
come to New York
but
City, and then they become a real household name. Yeah.
I do think I remember at that point seeing, because I went to schools not upstate New York, but getting there a little bit,
Yeah, yeah,
and I think I remember in college seeing ads for Cellino and Barnes,
yeah. So they're
which would be
making the
around this
rounds.
time.
So Cellino, it drove home how far the firm had come years ago. We did not have this assets to flaunt, and we tried hard to flaunt those attributes. I'm sorry, I'm thinking about titties. Flaunting
Yeah,
attributes just make me think of titties.
I hate when lawyers are asked to speak outside of law terms. You know,
No, it's like you can't just speak.
it's just really don't say assets to me ever.
Yeah, unless we're talking about like putting together your yacht and your Maserati, then yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think so now, we got the Rochester office, we got one in Melville, Long Island. New York City actually happened in 2010 and 2012. They got
Mm.
uh in 2012 was when they got the phone number. In 2016, so by 2016 now, spending 12.6 million a year on advertising, certainly a lot. And then the next year, so 2017, the firm bought 45,000 television commercials and 15,000 radio ads a month, according to court filings. 600 billboards and bus shelters. They call them bus shelters, where you put the
Yeah.
ads. A
Yeah.
shelter sounds like a place that would actually protect me. Bus shelters do none of that.
No. No, but if it has an ad, then it's a sheltered space.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So if it, yeah, right, you're right, because if it has an ad insult, so that's the caveat. In order for me
Yeah.
to have the just the bare minimum to not be thrown in a typhoon, you
A
know,
bus. Yeah. With Cellino and Barnes, you can sue if
where I
you're
could sue from the grave, but somebody can sue on my behalf.
if you get tossed during a hurricane and you're in the
Who
booth with the
better?
Cellino and Barnes ad,
Right,
it's
right,
very tactical, which
right.
you would expect from someone like Barnes, the living embodiment
Of
of
tactical.
tactics themselves.
So the result was more than 55,000 intake calls a year. That's a lot. I wonder how they divvy that one up.
Yeah, that's got to be that's they have to have a call center for that. Straight up.
Yeah.
Like there's absolutely no way they're dealing with that in the office.
Well, some of the attorneys were saying that they did well too. I think we're getting to that. Oh yeah, we're getting there. Okay. So competitors claim that. Oh, well, actually, we did read this part. That's okay. Competitors claim that any firm fielding such a huge volume of calls cannot possibly maximize settlements for a run-of-the-mill client. But this is the structure that was able to do this. It was the lawyers themselves that also did it. So each of the firm's 60 odd attorneys, they were able to like handle their own caseload and take the calls and kind of do things on their own. So they
Hmm.
could take as much as they wanted in to make as much money as they wanted in. So they had more autonomy than maybe some people that worked under them. But that means you are as much the intake person as like an office manager is.
Did you say 45,000 or 4,500?
Oh no, this was 45,000. No, 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 wait. There's 45,000 television commercials and 15,000 radio ads, but there's 55,000 intake calls a year. In that year, in
55,000
27.
intake calls.
Yeah, a year. And about 60 attorneys. So even
So here, some quick math. So that's 916 cases per attorney, right, per year, which means
over the
that
course
you
of a
have
year,
over the course of a year, which means that you're talking to at least two new clients every day, and that includes weekends and holidays.
yeah, that's
So you,
everything. Yeah,
so you have days where you're talking like probably you've got days where you're talking to like 10 new clients or some shit like that.
yeah, and you got to keep and like it's not just writing them down. You have to follow up with these cases and like see
Evan,
their merit and follow through with them.
now I'm just curious.
Because I just want to say, yeah, yeah.
Have you ever been in a position where you thought that perhaps a let's say a knowledge worker, a knowledge professional has done a
Hmm.
less than stellar job with some paperwork and tried to rush you out the door?
Has done a lesson, of course. A
So there's
knowledge worker?
so
That's
there so
such a
there's
good way to
absolutely
put it.
no
Yeah.
way. There's absolutely no way that this could happen to any one of the 915 people calling any one of these lawyers throughout the
Of
year.
course it can. Well, this is the thing. These are just intakes. We have no. This could be anything.
They are
They
intakes, which means
they have to vet it.
I'm sure they could turn them down, right? They have to vet it. You're right,
They can, but they have
but
to vet
but
it to see.
but Cellino and Barnes did not get to be the size by turning down most of those clients, right?
Well, well, no, they took it. They took enough that there would also be enough word of mouth so that they can get more people. So even if it wasn't going to be their big case, it just needed to get them a little bit of money for it to cost, for it to be profitable for them to take the case.
Mm,
Um, so what was I going to say? Oh yeah, so former Cellino Barnes attorneys generally loved the firm. Uh, the chief motivator was clear. You can make a lot of money. When I first went in, they didn't have to sell me. Quote, I knew I wanted to work there, but they bring out the book showing what everybody made the year before, and you're like, holy fuck, these guys are making 300, 400, $700,000. It's a pretty unique possibility in the context of a personal injury law firm. It's true. This isn't personal injury law money. This is partner money for most places.
sure.
Uh, so they split up the calendar. They had assigned intake and such. Numbers available first 9 months of 2015 showed that of the nearly 1,900 settlements the firm, oh, this goes into what I was saying earlier. Over the nearly 1,900 settlements the firm reached, the median value is just 20,000. So that meant the client would get $13,333 minus the cost, and the firm just 16,666 because they got a third of the winnings. Um,
Mm,
the more experienced attorneys got a cut of up to 10 to 20%, and the lion's share of the fees went to the firm. The vast majority of its revenue, 77% of the cases, 77% of the revenue came from just 20% of the cases. For the
mm,
top 25 cases, the median settlement was a million. Big money comes from the big injury cases. So
sure.
it takes a lot, but it's a
If you
big net.
if Yeah, if you land the big, you get it. You have to cast a wide net.
Yeah, right. We would consider when I read this, I found this funny. We would consider a leg off case, and at first I was like, I wonder if that's like a euphemism for something. No, a leg off case in which someone literally loses a leg in an accident. That's what they call it, a leg off. I thought it meant something else. To be a valuable case. I'm just using it as an example. Says another former staff attorney. There could be days when only BS slip and fall cases come in and you had a bad day on intake, or you could have a day where you get two amazing cases against a corporate defendant. Just complete luck who called that day. When people will
Wow.
call me and say, "Well, that guy got 500,000," this is so fucked up, but it's when people call me and say, "Well, that guy got 500,000," I'd say, "But did you see below his waist? He's got no legs."
Jesus fucking Christ.
The more time you put in, the more likely you're willing to make. It's a volume business, said a former staff attorney. You make however much you want to, really, depending on how hard you work. Some attorneys at Cellino and Barnes were shouldering as many as 200 cases at any given moment. Christ.
Yep.
Compared to an average 30 to 70 cases at a more typical personal injury firm. And this is before we had like really good Microsoft Excel. Like,
Oh yeah, yeah. No, no, no.
like some of these
I
motherfuckers
mean, look.
are like in their Rolodex using the Gareth Reynolds. Oh no. I lost it. What was his last name? Oh,
Yeah, I mean, look. If this is as late as
it
the
wasn't
2010s,
Stevens with one S or no S. Oh,
I'm afraid they're. If this is as late as the 2010s, I'm afraid of them booting up something like, you know, I don't know, early QuickBooks or something. You know what I mean? Like, I don't
quick,
know.
QuickBooks is what 80-year-old fucking Giacomo in the back could do at the best of his ability. How quick I used to do the quickest books in the back of the room, and it's like okay, but now we have Microsoft.
They're like typing up their documents in WordStar or something. Like,
Remember WordPerfect with a fucking
yeah.
fountain pen as a fucking thumbnail? Um, So, Stephen Daniels, senior research professor at
Just
American Bar
boot up the
Foundation.
Amiga.
Is that a Betamax? No, that's my son got me that. That's different. That's next to the toaster. Okay, says so. Stephen Daniels, senior researcher at American Bar Foundation, says there's a reason firms that advertise take on so many small cases. You can use that to generate the income to cover your overhead, he told me. There's going to be run-of-the-mill stuff, dog bite, slip and fall, car crash. That might allow you to handle some higher end litigation that's riskier to do, more expensive to do, but could lead to a much higher award settlement. Only a handful of firms can operate this way, usually in each geographic area. Plaintiffs' firms never have a long life. It's a very risky business, unless you are Cellino and Barnes.
There
And
you
risky
go.
business is all you do because you're out here when it's cold in the D, negative 30 degrees with a 60-pound weight out in Eldocott, Western New York. So
They
everything's
only
risky after
they
that.
only double down on the risky business always and forever.
Um, Attorneys say that Cellino and Barnes is actually a weirdly genial place to work. There's a lot of Buffalo culture at the firm, whatever the fuck that means.
You
Very
know,
polite,
if
very
I had ever
Canadian.
been there, I would have loved to tell you. But I
Very
think I believe
Canadian.
that. I think I believe that.
We're close to Canada, so I guess so.
I think I no, but I think I believe. The further you get from New York City, the more polite people are. It doesn't necessarily mean that they like you more, but they will be more
Right.
polite.
It's the usual thing. New Yorkers are rude but kind, and like everyone else is polite but
Well,
mean.
I don't know. I don't look. I don't want to generalize about this, and I've run into plenty of unkind New Yorkers, New York Cityers.
Oh yeah,
But
but every so
you know,
often there's a New Yorker that says, "I'll save your life, and after that I'll whoop your ass." And honestly, you're alive. I'm just saying, someone on the West
Barnes.
Coast may be. I wish I could, honey. I wish I could save you. I'll call. Bye. Sound nice, but anyway. So very organized. Apps for the attorneys. Dedicated. Wait, apps. There were no apps here. All right, I don't know what they meant by that. And dedicated team in Buffalo. Helped them with legal drafts. Analytics plentiful. Competitors even said, even if they failed to work some cases hard enough, they were very talented. But a law firm based only on advertising is also one that can exploit people, and these clients, of course, are people that they seek the attorneys based on a billboard, and it's tough sometimes to be able to be the successful yet not look belittling of your clients. It's something that one of the former attorneys worried about a fair amount. Cellino Barnes got me 500,000 is misleading to people who aren't as educated. The attorney said, "What would I always say when people call me and say, well, that guy got 500,000?" Well, anyway, we already went over this.
Of course.
Um, in 2012, atop of their 500,000 a year salary, so that's how much. So we're going back a bit. That's how much they're making. But they in salary, but on top of that, they each took home 5.4 million. And in 5 years, that doubled. Wow, so they're making about 10 million by 2017.
This
So
is
here's what
partners for the company.
at this point they're still partners. Yes, I think they're taking it. They're still taking the money even if they're not on the best terms. So
Okay.
Barnes has a lakefront house, uh, and Barnes indulges appear to be taking exotic trips to climb mountains, piloting his own plane, upgraded from a propeller plane to a jet. Cellino bought a golf course and began building a family retreat on the shores of Lake Erie.
All right. So we're regressing on the Cellino front.
Yeah, he's going back. Well, you never know. Maybe he'll use some
He's
of it to
building a
be
habitat
charitable.
for his family on a golf course.
There's still humanity.
Look, you can do whatever you want with your money. I'm not saying don't do it. I will say,
It's not the rest of humanity.
I,
It's his humanity.
I will say, building a golf course and taking all that land away. Yeah, I don't know.
Mhm.
It's just all right.
So the project alternative has been described in court filings as a house, a summer complex, and a what the fuck? A Hyannis port-like compound with
Couldn't
trees
tell you.
imported from Japan. All right, so Cellino's getting the
That's
good gold.
classy. That sounds classy.
That is nice. Honestly, I would if I had that money, I would import my trees from Japan too. Shit. So their success mounts. Um, so they wanted to expand. Oh, right. So this is going back to one of the other points of contention we didn't get to. Barnes wanted to expand to your side of the country, to California,
Right.
because car crashes, right? No one drives cars more than Californians.
And
Huge highways.
no one drives them quite as poorly as
Cars
Californians do
ineptly
either.
either. Uh, so 40%, or what is this saying? Car crashes and 40% contingency fees. I'm not sure exactly what that means in regards to what California does, but it sounds expensive.
Sure.
Uh,
Everything out here is.
right. So Cellino didn't want to do that. He backed out, and right. So this is one of the big sticking points. So Cellino was like, fine. He was leaning towards taking the East Coast, specifically Buffalo. And ultimately, you'll see how that divvies up more succinctly. But he already is saying, Barnes, do what you want in California. He's not interested in that. So Barnes went ahead, put millions into this, and the LA office opened in 2014. And look, near you, there is, or at least there was at one point, don't know if it's still here, uh, in Oakland, there was a Barnes office, and San Diego. So LA, Oakland, San Diego by 2014. Cellino's telling the next year's the beginning of the end. So in October 2015, that's when he starts to feel pushed out. So maybe that's why he needed the Japanese trees. He really needs to comfort himself because by that he needs to build the golf course. He's got
It's
to
all
see new
starting to
stuff.
collapse now, yes.
Right. Okay. So right. So he asks the MBA Chambella to break down the firm's revenues by office, then approaches Barnes with the idea of splitting the responsibilities, running a long, detailed email that sounded not unlike someone up who has gathered the courage for a raise. He proposed this division. So it's like, what was I gonna say? It feels like they're in a divorce right now. Buffalo and
Sure.
Rochester, Cellino, NYC to Barnes, and ultimately California to Barnes. Uh, So he's saying, NYC's taken off like a rocket ship. Take it. Buffalo, Rochester, stagnant at best. He's basically saying you're getting the better end of this deal.
I'm still not even entirely sure why Cellino doesn't. You know what? What's crazy to me is that he got. I'm sure. I think I mentioned this last time. He got into this because
Yeah,
it could make a shit ton of money.
right,
And for all the things that I can fault Barnes for at this point, the man is chasing the motherfucking bag,
right.
right? I mean, he's doing everything he
Barnesing it
can to
up.
make he's, he's right. So I don't think I fully understand what Celino's problem is with expanding the business to more and more cities when that will undoubtedly make him millions of more dollars, which he's clearly interested in.
I I think Cellino's a Rochester, Western New York boy.
And look, I get that. I read did I read this or did I hear it? Now I wish I could remember, but someone I think I read something somewhere where a guy was doing pizza delivery for like a I don't know some not a big
Shit, I
chain
want pizza now. Anyway, go on.
like a local well, you're telling me uh and his manager comes with him because it's the last delivery of the night or something,
Hmm.
and he's talking to his manager, and eventually his manager drops, yeah, I used to be like the CEO of Abercrombie and Finch, like couple whatever, a couple of years ago, a couple, I don't know how long they've been around,
Uh-huh.
maybe it was like a decade. But he was
Yeah.
like, "What the fuck? Like, what are you doing here? You're working like regional management for a pizza chain?"
Hmm.
And he was like, "Yeah, absolutely. Like, I grew the brand to maybe a dozen stores or something, and that's what I'm good at. Like I'm good for like up to 500 people, and then after that I really don't I'm not very good at it and I'm
Right.
not very interested. And
Right.
I'd rather just keep doing what I'm good at and interested in. So, I checked out, and they found another CEO, and you can see what happened after that. So maybe I believe it to
I
hear
think that's it. Yeah.
that Cellino's like, okay, look, I own Rochester, not sorry, I own Buffalo
Yeah, he'll take Rochester too. Both of them. Yeah.
and Rochester, and I'm good because it's my little slice of the world, and it's what I'm good
Right.
at, and these are the people
Right.
I know, and I just want to be like the local family man, personal injury lawyer. Um,
With the
like
golf
I
course.
with a golf course, I can see what he's
Yeah.
heading for. It's just it's just very interesting. It's very interesting to watch someone who's extremely successful get pitted against someone who is obscenely successful. You know?
But it's not just about success, it's about hunger. Motherfucker, and this
It,
reminds me, now I want how much I want pizza. But it's like I'm gonna end up ordering it because I live in New York, and this is the good part about it. Except we don't have star chicken. I was gonna call it star chicken. You know what I mean? The shit out there that
you don't have
you like.
Starbird.
Starbird. I don't have fucking
I
Starbird.
I
I
went
want
well.
Starbird.
I'll tell you after we're done recording about today. But anyway,
Yeah.
uh, so
Um.
so
So I
yeah,
get it.
no, yeah, it's the
I get it.
hunger. I see it, right? Like
Barnes got the
I
hunger. He's
mean,
got the primal. And we
he's
keep
got the
going back to the
primal urge,
prime. He
and
wants the
and look
rib.
like
He
and
wants the
look like
rib,
again,
Chris.
he's not
You're either
settling for
born,
one
it's
cow.
innate. You're either born wanting the rib or you're not born wanting the rib, all
He's
right?
he's not
It's
settling
one
for
or the
one
other.
cow's ribs. He wants another cow. He
Cellino,
wants more ribs.
listen, Cellino, he's Italian like us. He's probably said, listen, I got enough Sunday sauce. I'm good. Barnes is like Sunday sauce. I want the whole fucking I want I want the whole
I
fucking
want the
week.
tomato farm.
I want the Chinese New Year. I want every New Year. It's like Cellino's like, Jesus Christ. Like, we're good. I got a golf course. What else do I
Yeah,
need?
it is interesting. It is, and again, I mean, I can talk shit about Barnes all day, but I really do. I, there's something to be said for someone who's got it all, right? Could have everything he's wanted. And he's like, this could be even bigger. I mean, it's very ambitious.
Well,
I don't know. I
again,
don't know how much I personally agree with it,
we're
and I know where this story goes.
it
So
could have, yes, it could have bad consequences when you're you're always
buying
going for
Twitter,
another high.
yeah,
Well, you're always going for another high. Yeah, you know what? Speaking of Twitter, I mean, Elon kind of has a bit of this too. It's like, bro,
undoubtedly,
you
undoubtedly,
got so much. We can argue how he got there if he got it based entirely on his own merits. A lot of it, no, but legally, the man has a lot, and he could probably do a ton with it. But it's like he's so hungry. I know,
he's
yes, a lot
always
of it's
chasing
image.
the next
But
weird
what I'll
thing.
say
Yeah, a
about
lot of it's
Barnes,
vanity.
but what I'll say about the difference between Barnes and Elon, I'm not saying that Barnes has no ego, but I will say I do think Barnes, it's not just about ego. I do think the man just likes. I do think he's also simply a workaholic. I think the man
Yes,
simply likes to work. Again, it goes into the whole ethos of I must work, I must be do labor, I must be a man. But at least it is also actual ethic.
and I don't think. I think a key difference here is that he also appears to be really, really good at what he does.
Well, they're
Right?
both also just smart guys. They're actually it's like they're qualified men.
Both Cellino and Barnes know what they're doing, and
Yeah.
I mean, they've succeeded so far for well documented reasons, right?
And I like they
And
didn't go to Ivy Leagues too. They both went to I think they both went to Buffalo and they made it. So I
right,
support that
I
too.
I mean, there's actually a lot here to enjoy. I have to
Right.
say, like,
Yeah.
I mean, this whole story has been a hell of a lot less controversial than I thought it was going to be when we got started. There is some interesting stuff here
Right.
that I think is really cool.
I mean,
I just
Barnes
wish
got
I just wish we didn't get started with the primal urge to have
I was
children.
just about to say,
But
aside from Barnes getting canceled to high heaven within the first 15 minutes, this is pretty good.
right, right.
So anyway, so
So
this is
they're
the thing.
brokering
So
this deal to
so
split the company.
but okay, but here's where I start really having a problem with Barnes. Cuz Cellino is basically literally saying, "I'm giving you the good share of the pie. Take it. I just want to do this formally. I want to do it well. I don't want it to get messy. Here, I take this, you take this. I'm writing it up formally. I'm having our business friend intermediate." Barnes says, "I totally disagree with the concept." He tells
Because
the
why?
firms because it says he told the firm's lawyer in an email. It says he was spooked. By December, he emailed Anna. Okay, this is a. So I already don't like that he didn't take Cellino's offer, which I think is quite generous. But what I don't like now is listen to who he emails. He emails Anna Marie Cellino. That's going low. You're emailing the guy's wife, and says, who apparently didn't know that her husband, what his husband was proposing. So he's also now getting into intermarital stuff because maybe Cellino wanted to talk about with his partner first. I'm not going to judge who he talks about first, his business partner or his marriage partner. He decided to talk to his business partner first. Maybe not the best thing for the marriage, but it's what he decided to do. But Barnes now is revealing it to his wife. That's not my business
and
to talk to
and
another
yeah,
man's wife, especially about something they hadn't discussed.
I mean, it's it, it's a bit weird. So I mean, I've had the sense so far that uh, until Cellino was forced to take a year and a half break, that these
Mhm.
two were actually quite close. I
Yeah,
thought
they're
they worked well
at
together
least a
and they
good
enjoyed
working
each other. They were
relationship.
friends, had a good
Yeah.
working relationship, and and from what I understood, I thought, okay, like I could see a reality where this is an acceptable move because he's like, I, I have a feeling as much as Barnes is chasing the next high,
Hmm.
he's also somewhat afraid of change, right? I mean,
Yes.
he's always chasing the next high, but he's very much chasing the next high within his field, within his bounds, right? He's always up in
Although,
the ante, just enough within his own capabilities, right? So now his oldest business partner is messaging him and saying, "Hey, you know what? Let's switch it all up because you've outgrown me, right? And you don't need me anymore. So why are we doing
right.
this?" And I don't have any trouble imagining that Barnes is totally freaked out by that because this guy, he might have even been trying to push him out of the company a little bit, but it wasn't real until now, where that guy is suggesting that he's going to leave. He
Right.
he might not have felt
Because
this respected, but now he's going, right?
I was about to say, because he didn't want him to get back at first, but the difference to come back to the firm after suspension, but the difference actually is that now it's that Cellino doesn't want to be there. That's
Right.
different. Cellino
Now
always
he's
wanted to be
choosing.
there. It was on
And
Barnes's terms. But
and for
now
all
it's
and for all
different.
we know, he's probably in the time since his suspension, he's probably proven why he deserves to be. I mean, the man's raking
Yeah.
up. I don't
Not
necessarily
to
want to
his
say that
own,
all.
to his own thought he's not doing enough. Barnes doesn't care. Barnes is seeing the bottom line do what it needs to do.
Maybe even in just by providing his name, he's providing value to the
Right. And
company for all we
Cellino,
know.
this is what I gotta again give to Cellino's credit. Like Barnes, they both value their work. But Barnes values the bottom line as much as his own work. He's not caring as much whether Cellino feels, fulfilled in his job right now.
I just
So,
never thought when I was watching these ads as a kid that we would be discussing Cellino and Barnes' war.
no, I'm
like,
kidding.
we're gonna, like this is like after I'm sure after the episode's done, you're going to link me to Cellino.barnes.wikimedia.com or
Oh,
something.
I'm sure there's a whole Reddit on. I'm sure there's Reddit wars on this already. But
Oh my god.
anyway, I really, I don't know if Dave Anthony and Gareth Reynolds will ever see this. I hope they do. But I would love to talk about this with them because I'm sure they would have a kick out of this one. Um,
Oh yeah, no,
so
this is
especially
insane.
the second we hit the primal urge thing, I'm sure they both would lose it. I would love to hear their take on that. Anyway, so Anna Marie Cellino, who I'm gonna guess, just saying, we can say this because we're at least part Italian, who I'm sure just loves knowing that there were plans she didn't know about. I'm sure, I'm sure she is thrilled to know that there were big plans that
You're
she didn't know
splitting up
about.
the fucking company?
We could have had California,
We could have
San Diego.
honey, away from the fucking snow? Are you shitting me right now? We could have been in Aruba.
You imagine? Right? You chose Rochester? Couldn't even take fucking what? Couldn't even take, what was the other one? Melville? Couldn't even take Melville? Long Island?
So what does he say? What did
All
he
right,
say
all
to
right. So he
Selena?
said, so apparently doesn't know what her husband had been proposing. I had a difficult meeting with Ross, you think? Barnes told her. During that meeting, he told me, I don't know. All right, this isn't quotes, so I'm guessing he said it. During, during the meeting, he told me he wanted a divorce from me, which is always a great word to use also to someone's spouse.
Whew.
Because you don't know. She's, oh, your own partner? Am I next? I mean, Barnes is just,
I
you
mean, he's
know,
really getting hammered here. Yeah.
all the good, everything you'd want your boy to do. Just everything.
Yeah.
All right, a divorce for me and other things I consider to be. Here we go with the amazing. Lawyers must talk so great in bed, right? Because it's like
Oh, don't.
I've
Please
lost
don't
track
even.
of the amount of syllables that I would want to hear in pillow talk. And all the other things that I consider to be less than rational, given the fact that the firm is doing better than it ever has.
So basically, Barnes is wondering the same thing I am, right? If you
Barnes
got
could
into
just
this
say,
for
"We're
the
making
money,
so much
why
fucking
are you
money. Why
getting
does he
out?
want to go?" Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right.
So tensions escalated. The at one point the men screamed at each other in the office within earshot of a place. I'm sure the second Cellino heard about this, he's feeling great. Why the fuck would you? I don't, okay, so wait, who's saying? One of them saying this to one of. I think no, Barnes must be saying this to Cellino. Why the fuck would you want to fuck this up when we are making $10 million a year? Everyone remembers hearing Barnes yelling. I would love to be like the intern who's like making nothing during this whole
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
sorting
Absolutely.
mail, just sorting
The guy who's
mail. Be
getting,
like,
the guy who's getting sent out into the cold to get coffee in the middle of the fucking winter.
um, oh wait, that's the next funny thing. So some of them are making money, but this was especially galling to the staffers since for years the firm had refused to subsidize their health insurance.
Oh my God. Oh well, wasn't this in the middle of the we're talking about the recession years at this
This is
point, right? So
27. Wait, is this 20? Let me see. Hold on. This is 2015. 2015,
okay, no, but
2016.
I mean
So
by then
following
things were
it.
certainly getting better.
All right, but the way this story goes, we kind of go back and forth. So now we're taking a few years back, 2012, um, when Celino's daughter Gianna graduated from law school. Okay, so these are other things contributing to the friction. Cellino had been pushing for her to join the firm, another idea Barnes dismissed. Cellino swears his pitch to separate wasn't about his kids, wasn't that Barnes said no. When the public perceives that I did this for my daughter, that's not accurate, he told me emphatically, told me as in the reporter.
Yeah,
Still, he found Barnes' objection ludicrous. Barnes' brother and companion, his girlfriend, Barnes' girlfriend, were firm lawyers, and Cellino's brother-in-law and nephew were around too. Why couldn't? So at first I was like, okay, these are all men. So I'm wondering if Barnes is, uh,
a woman
female
be a
versus
lawyer.
male nature. He did let his girlfriend work there, who is a lawyer, but I don't know. There could be some sexism there as well, because it still is your relation to that person.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not like it's your, I don't know. So why couldn't Barnes extend the same consideration to his daughter? So they're also thinking, this whole firm started because Cellino Sr. and Barnes' father, they both were thinking about succession because they knew that they were done. They had worked together. I think Cellino worked independently for longer, but at one point he did work with Barnes' father, and they both thought about their children kind of being the new guard. So
right,
now they're both thinking about the same thing. They're saying Cellino says there's no succession plan in place with Stephen Meese. If we both got hit by the proverbial bus, which I actually find that kind of funny for him to say that, like, but in a
yeah,
kind of almost with humility, like saying
yeah,
we're injury lawyers. If we get hit by the proverbial bus, the firm would disappear in a matter of days. Frankly, I mean, the lawyers would leave, join another firm, start their own.
right.
When I asked Barnes about his refusal to hire Cellino's daughter, his answer was no less mystifying than to Ross himself. To me, the business model was not one that allowed for that, was all he would say.
That's
That's a
what.
non answer.
That's yeah. Doesn't mean anything. All right.
uh, explanation made the most sense to me came from an attorney who knows both men, Mark uh, Panepinto. Pure conjecture, he told me. But I think he feels I did the right thing by you bringing you back, but bringing your fucking daughters here to give the firm to them, that's not going to work for me. So I guess Barnes thought he did him a favor by letting him come back. He didn't want to do too many favors. Who knows?
Interesting, but all right, all right.
A couple weeks after Barnes' intervention with Anne Marie, Cellino's wife, Cellino tries again. In a long email, he offered a revised, this is the second proposal now for the split. Allow Gianna to come work at the firm, but exclude her salary and bonus? Wait, so she doesn't get paid? That doesn't make sense. From the firm's profit sharing agreement. Okay, so she gets a salary, but they get extra profits from overall revenue that I guess she would be excluded from.
Is there
Because
any comment on how good of a lawyer she is?
we don't know. I think all I know is I think most of their kids all went to the same. They all went to like Buffalo or Rochester.
I mean,
Um,
yeah, that's
yeah, that's
fine.
normal.
You could
Uh,
go to any school and still be shit at the job, though.
of,
I'm just
of
wondering if she
course.
was
I
good at it.
mean, they're good at the job they went there, but I don't know anything else about it. As well as, but he's making it fair. He's saying not only my daughter though, but also your girlfriend and Barnes's brother. All of them excluded from the profit sharing agreement. I know you
Okay.
believe this is all about my children, Cellino said. It's really not. Also proposed that he controlled the marketing decisions for the Buffalo office, where a competitor named William Matard, which means to kill in Spanish,
Yeah, it does.
had started to eat away at the business with his own catchy slogan, "Hurting a call? Call William Matard." That's honestly, I'm still with Cellino. That's pretty corny.
That's
And
rough.
a threatening phone number 444-4444. Uh, I mean, whatever. Cellino said that this was his true reason for action, desire to beat him down. Wait a second. Cellino's starting to sound like Barnes. Barnes is rubbing off on him. The desire to beat him down overwhelms me with daily thoughts. Not beat him at business, beat him down.
Well, well,
I know
I
it
mean,
could
I
be
mean that,
I know it could be metaphoric, but it still kind of sounds
but I think he's trying to appeal to Barnes's
right. He's trying to appeal to it.
primal
Right.
energies,
Right. I got it. Barnes
primal
again
vibes, if you
rejects.
will.
Barnes rejects it all. Men carried on like this for months. March 2006 email. They now seem to do everything by email on account of the screaming that they probably realized for both of them wasn't such a good idea.
Yeah.
Cellino wrote, Cellino wrote, wow, Cellino is definitely the more in touch with his emotions of the two, no surprise. You were the one that drove a stake in my soul when you said to me, Ross, why the fuck are you quibbling over nickels and dimes when I literally gave you millions of dollars? I did not have to take you back. Stake in my soul. I have loved some women. I don't think I've ever said stake in my soul.
I
Then
mean, it's a
again,
deep
I've
cut.
never made millions of dollars. But he's still going to be rich. He has a golf course and Japanese cheese. He's good.
I don't. All right.
Thoughts? Stake in the soul? Quibbling
I
over
can't.
nickels and
I mean,
dimes?
I can't even begin to. This is. I do feel like there's a line here where lawyers don't know how to use anything other than lawyering terms until
Right,
they're so
right.
incensed that they bring out the wrong fucking
Book?
creative language.
Bringing fucking Edgar Allan Poe?
And that's I just, everything up until shooting
The
me in the knee
Raven?
gets like we're talking about my assets, and then the second second some bad shit goes down, they're like, how could you fucking crucify me like this?
What was I going to say? Shit, I'm forgetting. Oh no. Oh, no.
Oh
What?
no!
Where? Okay, anyway,
What?
I'll remember later. Barnes resp Sorry, I'm thinking about these men in 2016 using, no, Windows XP was done by then. What did we have then? It still wasn't a
Thank
good
God.
Windows.
No,
Which Windows was it?
they were either on 8 or 10.
10. Yeah, 10, whatever. Windows 10 still wasn't great. I was thinking of them typing frantically in Windows 10 and their experience, just fucking, you know, Barnes' response.
Yeah, yeah,
All
yeah.
as to this bullshit about driving a stake in your soul, you ought to thank your lucky stars that you had and have me. And this is this is when we get full throttle Barnes. That you had me as a partner instead of some cocksucker. I was waiting for the cocksucker motherfucker. Because when the second I heard Barnes' thoughts on, like, man, woman, and Earth and everything, I'm like, I know this motherfucker says cocksucker when he's mad. You just knew it. It's like
Oh
Alec
yeah, yeah.
Baldwin. Like Alec Baldwin, he said, like, he just looks like that hair on your chest kind of gnarly ass woodsman anger.
He can't wait. He can't wait to call somebody a cocksucker.
He can't wait. And there's a wait, I have to back up to make this as funny as it is. You're lucky to have me as a partner, so some cocksucker who might have taken a different view of things. And there are a lot of cocksuckers out there, Ross. I didn't hear you
It's
objecting to the way that I was running the place during the 10 plus years that by your own admission you were doing nothing. Well, that's also unfair because Ross actually wanted to do more shit and have more of a voice, but you didn't want him to. So,
I mean, yes, yeah. I mean, there's an element of this. Everybody is so fucking confused at this point. Not everybody, mostly Barnes, right? Like, I, I mean, I understand not wanting to give up
Cellino knows
part
what
of.
he wants now.
Toledo knows what he wants. Barnes, I understand not wanting to give up part of his business, but at the same time, um, I don't know. It just seems like there's so much more in store for him. You
You're
know what I mean?
giving up the least profitable. Look, you were making money before California. He's Cellino saying, take all of California, take New York City, take Long. He's only keeping Western New York. It's like for all the litigation that this would cost them. Anyway, and their lawyers, they should know that. Anyway, the following year in May 2017, so we're going back to when
I'm
they.
sorry. I just don't know what he's getting at because he if he's trying to drive him out, he's not doing a very good job, right? He's not arguing, hey, just fuck off if you don't want to be here. He's not even saying that, right?
No,
He doesn't even want Cellino to leave, but he's still giving these weird non-answers where he's like, no, I can't do that because I'm not a cocksucker, and there's a lot of cocksuckers out there, and it's like,
yeah, which is great.
okay, so what are you saying? What does any of that mean? What do you just want to leave things, you know? Cellino's saying, hey, I'm going to do something about this, right? And I'd prefer if you agreed with me, right?
Right.
And Barnes is just screaming about dick sucking.
And Celino's like, he's actually being the more lawyer person here. He's like revising an agreement, taking into account what we said before,
Right, he's trying
making
some
it
new stuff.
making it as beneficial for the other person. So, 2017, which I believe was the year or is the year after the year. So they're at their peak at this point. This was like the 55,000 intake year or the 2016 was. So they're doing
Wow.
business. Anyway, 2017, Cellino files to dissolve the firm. He announced the decision with an email blast to employees, which I know isn't great because now it's like, oh shit, now the employees have to make a decision. But he warned him twice. He brushed him off. He didn't even like Barnes didn't even say. It's also just bad lawyering tact. Like as a lawyer, you should say, all right, I have to negotiate. There's no
Right.
negotiating with.
If
There
something's
are
going to happen, you got to
cocksuckers
play
out
ball.
there.
You
That's not a
you got to play
negotiating
ball.
tactic.
Right.
Yeah, so
You
you
can't
gotta you
just
gotta
start
play
yelling about
you gotta play
cocksuckers.
ball. You can't just talk about balls. You gotta play them. All right, you can't just talk about cocks. You gotta play ball. All
Yep.
right. Anyway, so Cellino's saying, you know what? Fine, I'll play ball. So he emails the employees and he says, as you may know, my dad started his predecessor, Cellino and Barnes, 1958. He started before listing every iteration of the. Oh, he's getting very poignant now. Every iteration of the firm's name since the beginning.
Sure.
Barnes firm, that was Cellino and Lidukis, Cellino, Bernstein Cellino, Cellino Dwyer and Barnes. He ended by dangling the question of who would become the next Barnes to his Cellino with Cellino and question mark. His follow-up note to everyone was more explicit. Please now allow me the opportunity to explain what I believe are options going forward. You can join my new law, join my new law firm, or join Steve and Daryl, who's the MBA.
Right.
All right.
I mean, this is it's interesting because as far as I understand it, with other, I mean, I'm just about the furthest thing from involved with law, right? But to my understanding, this is exactly how a lot of things in law go.
Mhm.
People start with your firm and they get their experience,
Mhm.
and you know you're probably raising your next competitors, right? Because at some point, if they don't make partner at your firm, they're going to leave and they're going to try to either make it at another firm or
Right.
create their own. And that's just kind of the life cycle of being a lawyer, is that you end up with enough experience that you can do whatever you want at your own company someday, or land a nice cushy position at another firm of hopefully decent size, right? So
Yeah.
so it's just again. I mean, I know we've illustrated this pretty well already, but the fact that Barnes isn't willing to just sit down for 5 minutes and be like, yeah, that's fine, whatever, right? Like to have it come to this, to have the founder be like, hey, you know what? Uh, this isn't going to work. Pick, right? To
Yeah.
all the employees. That's ugly, right?
That
Like
is ugly.
this is undoubtedly worse than anything, Barnes could have gotten out of agreeing to a deal.
Right. Right. Like you said, it's the life cycle, and
I
he should have
love
known
being
that.
such an alpha that I lose out on all the benefits of being an alpha,
Of being alpha. Um. All right. So of course Barnes. So this is after 25 years of business. So Barnes, of course, wanted to oppose the dissolution papers, but reiterates that regardless of outcome, the firm will continue to do business. Uh. So. Oh. Sorry. All right. So fans are learning about this, and it's getting. I'm just trying to get some things here.
fans.
Yeah, fans. This is starting to make its news in Twitter, and Gothamist, and it's getting in. It's going across the. People are tweeting. The jingle was
Holy crap!
iconic. The jingle was iconic. They're gonna miss it. Um. Anyway, so okay, it. So it escalates. It escalates. Uh. Right. It goes to the petition goes to state supreme court. By the way, in New York State Supreme Court, because this makes sense, State Supreme Court is the lowest court, and the Court of Appeals is the highest court.
That's crazy.
I know.
I would have literally never guessed that.
Yeah. I think in almost every other state, of course, the state Supreme Court is the supreme, and everything else before it, but none. State Supreme Court, lowest Supreme Court. I mean, Appeals Court is the highest within New York State. So the fight eventually escalated to a restraining order. Apparently, things got real when July 2017, so just 2 months later, Barnes requested a restraining order against Cellino. Why? He stated that Cellino tried to poach and pirate lawyers from the firm, which I don't think is necessarily fair because he gave them a choice. There's not much coercion being
And
done
also,
here.
to what extent does a restraining order have to do with any of that?
Restrain my Hotmail account? I don't fucking know. Hotmail. The one that
Yeah.
no one will the one that no one will check.
Sent
Hey,
sent
Earthlink. Why am I getting an Earthlink? It's Cellino. Oh shit.
sent from my
Cellino at
e-machine.
AOL. um. So yeah, it's trying to poach people from the firm, engaging in a pattern of conduct which caused and continues to cause catastrophic damage to Cellino Barnes' reputation and its brand. Barnes not, maybe contributing to that a smidge as well. Um, Apparently, Cellino was telling employees that it was better for their careers if they worked for a firm. Okay, so now he's starting to, throw some shade, but it's not like Barnes hasn't.
I'm sure he can get the fangs out if he wants to. Let's hear it.
Yeah, so Cellino's saying that it's oh, is this the one? Okay, actually like this that he said it. I mean, Barnes isn't the only one that could drop a bar. Cellino can too. He said, "All right, yeah, Cellino," he said, is more catchier than Barnes, but then he continues. He said, another statement Ross made to attorneys and employees during his pitch was that Cellino was better as Barnes. Look, he analogized firm to Harley Davidson. No one calls it a Davidson. They call it a Harley. And I was like, it's kind of true.
That's, you know, a twist of the knife there for sure.
I know. I know. Um, so another issue that Barnes brings up is that Cellino's behavior upset clients were calling the firm and fretting over how their ongoing cases would be treated. All right, well, neither of you are exactly helping with this one. On top of this, Cellino apparently attempted to stop the firm from wiring or transferring its funds, which would mean employees wouldn't be able to get paid. So now Cellino's really saying, I'm gonna force you to do something by causing havoc, and at this
Yeah,
point, I don't care who suffers, which is fucked up, but at the same time, it could have been avoided.
yeah,
If we just talked
absolutely,
about this earlier on.
absolutely.
So, 2017, Cellino tried to legally prevent Barnes from using Cellino and Barnes jingle for Barnes in California. Barnes apparently owned 3 offices in California, as we said, Los Angeles, San Diego, Oakland. According to one of Barnes' attorneys, there was a legal action to that effect filed by Cellino in the Delaware courts as well. I didn't even know they were doing business in Delaware. Um,
A
so
lot of businesses incorporate in Delaware.
right, because of taxes and some sort of
I
law
th-
about names on the accounts.
I I couldn't tell you more besides the
There's
fact
a
that I think you're right. I think it's for mostly for tax purposes.
it's for tax purposes and also I think it's also identification purposes of like it's easier to anonymously like to not trace something back to an individual.
Hmm.
Uh so this goes back and forth. Cellino stated Barnes used forms from the partnership joint firm to benefit the California office without telling Cellino. All right. So Cellino and Barnes office in California after all this finally changed its names. So they dropped Cellino. Lawyers finally made their split official. In October 2017, Cellino was able to get Barnes from using the official firm's names as well as the 888 number, so that's been disillusioned now. Cellino and
Wow.
Barnes firm simply became the Barnes firm. Yep, pour a little bit out for all those eights, for the 7 8s. Um,
The Yates gang.
uh, so the number became 800 800 00 00. I don't know.
All right. It's not
All
as
right.
good, but okay.
The Barnes firm now, of course, still exists. It hasn't grown outside of the cities, but you can hire an attorney. So I guess the Barnes firm is mainly now in California. So if you need something to, want to reach out to someone.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, for sure. If I ever get my hand broken on the job, I'll be sure to.
yeah, yeah. All right. So as for Cellino, he stays in New York. No longer was a stockholder in the California offices. So he's completely detached from that. Would have been unethical for them to continue using my name. I wish Steve well in California. Happy to stay in Buffalo, Rochester, New York City area. So he got what he wanted. Oh, and it looks like he got New York City as well, which is, or at least part of New York City, which is, I mean, Barnes lost out
He,
on that, it looks. Or at
that's
least
even
not
more than he
total
really wanted.
control. Yeah, at
That's
least
even
not. I
more
don't
than he
know if
really
Barnes
wanted
has
there.
no impact there, but he was going to give all of New York to Barnes. Um, all right. And then later, this changes though. So later, Cellino says he wants to burn Barnes' offices to the ground. And this is in November of 2017. He said, Cellino said, I don't give a fuck. I will burn the place to the ground and start over with one lawyer, have the resources. Fuck Steve, fuck Daryl. Let all these fucking lawyers spend the next 20 years with Steve. This is after someone sent a package of mystery powder to Cellino and Barnes in Buffalo. All right, well, if you're going to send something that looks like fucking anthrax, you're
Yeah,
not
I
going to
mean
get the best reaction to something.
that's pretty rough. Yeah,
Yeah, that's pretty rough.
I can just see Barnes filling the package with baby powder, laughing to himself.
Fucking ass. That's fucking terrible. All right. Okay. Um. So years later, in June 2019, Barnes sues Cellino. In 2019, a local news station reported that Barnes was now suing Cellino because Cellino's new law firm, Cellino and Cellino, with his wife, daughters, said it was too close. Wait, this can't be serious. I don't know if I read this right. It was too close to Cellino and Barnes
That's
by using.
hysterical.
Then his own name is too close to his own name. Yes.
It could have been Cellino and anyone, and he'd be like, "No, it used to be Cellino and Barnes.
No,
It's
but
too
you said
close."
it twice. It reminds people twice. That's like Harley Harvey. Okay. All right. So, and its likeness in an obvious attempt at leveraging the original firm's authority and brand identity. I don't know if that's obvious. I think it's dumb. Barnes even took
So
issue with the new Cellino and Cellino phone number, 888-2020, because it's a mashup of the Cellino and Barnes current and form. All right, this is just
he's
ridiculous.
reaching. He's reaching real hard. He's reaching.
So Anne Marie Cellino, Cellino's wife, and his daughters responded with an official statement. Uh, we are aware of the lawsuit that was filed by my father's partner from against Cellino and Cellino. Confident has no merit. Claims are a desperate attempt by Barnes reasonably interfere with our representation of our clients and right to practice law. So Barnes was trying to bully everybody for practicing under their own name. you know, notwithstanding ethical rules, this article points out, which require attorney in New York to use their name. So it doesn't even make any sense by
Right.
by like an by like a basic understanding of the law. We
Unreal.
are one of the few all-female firms in Western New York. So I guess even though Cellino's there, he's really letting his wife and his daughter be the head of it. And we are proud and excited to continue to grow this new law practice. We will let the court and our attorneys handle this frivolous lawsuit. All right. So finally, in 2020, Cellino and Barnes' divorce became official. I guess I guess some of it wasn't official. I guess now what makes it truly official is that he can't there won't be any entertainment of this type of lawsuit ever again because it doesn't matter about your previous affiliation anymore to that firm because
Sure, sure, sure.
enough has been finalized that you can't even claim um a likeness. So that's pretty much the roller coaster. So by 2020, not like anything else insane happened in that year, but like the beginning of the beginning of 2020 is pretty much when this roller coaster finally crashes and burns, and now everybody's separate.
Speaking
Okay.
of crashing and burning,
Uh huh. So, in light of respondent Barnes' capitulation, who's saying this? I guess it's Cellino. Respondent Barnes' capitulation, ongoing negotiations between us regarding issues involves the wind-up process. Respondent Barnes and I, what the fuck is Respondent Barnes? Respondent Barnes and I are each making plans to be prepared in the very near future to open our own separate law. Okay, so now they're just saying they have plans to open their own. All right. I so I guess Cellino wasn't as active. I guess his wife and his daughter were more active than he was before this official
sure.
part of this litigation. Okay, Cellino's now Cellino Law. Barnes is Barnes Firm. Okay, that didn't. Sure.
Left Twix, right Twix.
I was gonna say North and South something, but we'll skip.
Well,
Um,
we're going
uh,
to skip that one.
okay, but it's not quite over yet because Barnes' girlfriend now sues Cellino. Uh,
For
According to Buffalo News, Barnes' girlfriend Ellen Sturm sued Cellino over an alleged bonus that was never given to her. Barnes' girlfriend stated that she worked on a specific case for 7 years and called it one of the biggest personal injury settlements in American history. Sought 3.7 billion in her suit. Barnes now tells that he can't. Barnes says he can't quite believe Cellino would do such a thing. You look at the money and you look at what the lawyers make in the country. You look at two.
that isn't
Sure.
don't they have the NBA
Yeah, and
handling
I don't.
all everything?
And I also don't understand why now. I don't get
Yeah,
why
if
is
it was the
this why
biggest
is
thing over 7 years, that would
how
never
is
come
this
up.
not how is this not clearly in litigation or to the forefront anyway. But I just like it this word because I haven't heard this word in a very long time. You look at the money and you look at what two lawyers make in this country, what lawyers make in this country, and you look at two jamokes from Buffalo who didn't attend Ivy League, which I would have thought is a nasty slur for somebody if you didn't tell me otherwise. But
But
I
also
know I
he didn't go to an Ivy.
I know that's his point. His point is like we're two jamokes, like we're two
Oh,
average
oh,
Joes.
oh!
Yeah, yeah.
I thought he's talking
No, no,
about.
no. He's
I thought
talking
he's
about
talking about
himself
Toledo
and,
and
and,
Smith.
and Cellino. He's talking about both of them.
Okay,
And you got
all
yourselves
right.
in the position where there would be money, making my highest paid partner Scan Arps would be extremely jealous of. What would you choose intentionally to blow that apart? And that's why his decision is mind boggling. All right. All right, so this keeps going and going.
Well, it's
Um,
mind-boggling, but he also ends up with what sounds like the more successful firm so far.
he's still making more money. All right.
Barnes or Selena?
No, Barnes is making more money.
Oh, all right.
All
All
right.
right, well, great. That's
So,
okay.
all right, maybe I did get the date wrong. Maybe she did ask for the 3.7 before this all ended. Anyway, whatever. Oh wait a second. There's more litigation from the girlfriend. All right. The
Jesus
case concerned
Christ.
there's another. Oh my God. There's another. Oh no. This is more about this accident. The case concerned a horrific accident involving a teenager and a fuel called fire gel used in ceramic fire pots. When the pot was led to an explosion, a young man died 8 years later after tremendous suffering. The suit against Bed Bath & Beyond, that's why I guess it's so much money, was settled for Barnes says enormous amount, largest in firm's history. I don't think it was the largest firm in history, because I think they said they settled something more than that. Okay, so this is just more information about this. But he thought he withheld it from vindictive retaliation. Anyway, so in retrospect, Cellino says, "I think we had a good partnership. We got great results for our clients. But I thought we could do think we could do better things separated from each other." All right. So after this is all over, more on Cellino's post Cellino and Barnes image. Cellino decided to buff his image, taking out billboards and ads of himself next to fuzzy animals to tout his initiatives with the local SPCA. It's nice. Gauzy promo video of him throwing a football with his grandkids, occasionally wearing, the article points out, smart looking glasses with no lenses. And Cellino told me he's signing a lease to expand to the Bronx. That's nice. And he reconciled with Mark Rappold, the guy who didn't like that they left him out of how big a deal they were settling because he thought it would make it look more like a money grab instead of just for his son, and they didn't tell him about it.
Yeah.
And his son David has improved considerably. He can speak to his brothers, so that's good. And so he's recovered a lot. For his part,
Wow.
Barnes is
Oh,
pleased to have consolidated coast to coast operation. He isn't worried about competing with his former partner. I know Ross is going to come out spending a ton of money on advertising, but we both are, says Barnes. It's going to be a bit ridiculous for starters, seeing both of our heads up on billboards separately, but that's okay. People get used to it. Both lawyers have already bought a new 1-800 numbers, plastered on billboards, and new jingles. So, unfortunately, comes to an even more tragic end as we know. October 2020, the co uh, the co-host essentially of this whole legend, the co-narrator,
the primal
the
urge.
co-conspirator, the primal man himself, Steve Barnes, in all seriousness, takes a tragic turn when he dies in a plane crash. As so many people do, these small planes, I always think it's dangerous when these guys small. I don't care how good pilots they are. Whenever I see these guys fly these small planes regularly, I'm like, I'm worried about the statistics here. Piloted a small plane. Oh shit, I didn't realize this. On his way to his mother's birthday party, that's awful, and it crashed. Barnes dies in the crash, and so did his niece. That's terrible. They both died. Cellino made a public statement following the crash, calling Barnes a fearless advocate for his clients, and saying that his death was a significant loss to the legal community. Bit more emotional later on in Buffalo news, of course. You know, that's where everything started. Federal investigations still haven't been able to determine why it happened. Jess says it lost controls of the plane. He's a registered pilot. It was. It looks like they were close to where they were going to land. Air traffic controllers for about 25 minutes. They lost contact with him for about 25 minutes on a flight from New Hampshire to Buffalo. Reestablished a contact about 30 miles from Buffalo. Everything seemed fine. And then it crashed into the woods. Fact that Barnes was still flying at a cruising altitude at 28,000 feet, that close to his destination, suggests, quote, a clear breakdown in awareness of his position through distraction or impairment. God forbid that there was distraction or impairment that led to that.
I mean, something could have just happened to him. Also, I mean, if
Right.
he had like a stroke or a heart attack while
Right. He
flying,
could have been a health
and the only
condition,
person in the plane is his niece. I don't know how old his niece is at the time, but
but
you know,
it's not. It's
she
going to be tough.
she if she's not a pilot, then they're in trouble, right?
Right. But the report concluded Barnes' communication with controller was clear and didn't suggest any impairment at that moment.
Okay, yeah, I think something happened to him in the air.
I
I
think
think
he probably wasn't in the best of health. So, the NTSB, National Transportation Safety Board, attributed the probable cause of the accident to the pilot's failure to the main. All right, this is a very non-answer. Failure to maintain control of the airplane for undetermined reasons during the descent to the destination airport.
sure. All right, so they don't know.
So they don't know exactly. So, to continue, um, if we look at this legacy, can you still hear me?
I I
Because
can, but
my headphones just went out. Can you hear me a little better now?
I can't hear you. Yeah.
Okay. When we look at the legacy here, the old time jingle, been parodied on Saturday Night Live, Broadway actors, as we said, you know, they've done competitions for this. And Cellino looks back, said that so Barnes survived by his three children. His partner, who's also an attorney at the firm, Cellino looks back and says, "It's funny how all the crap that Steve and I went through over the past 3 years, all the posturing, arguing, and insults just disappeared from my mind when his plane crashed." He said, "We argued very aggressively against each other in court. That's what lawyers do. But now that he's all gone, all I can think about is good times, all the milestones I had with Steve. Despite everything that happened over the past 3 years, I always consider him a friend, almost like a brother. I respect Steve Barnes as a great lawyer. I'm a great friend and partner for 25 years, someone I spoke to almost every day. We built something together. We analyzed and tried cases together. We helped our clients. I'm very proud of what Steve and I accomplished." Today, Cellino still practices law. As we said, Cellino Law. Barnes Law Firm still taking cases. Steve's brother Rich is Rich Barnes, man at the helm these days. Despite the ultimately tragic end, Cellino Barnes feud, at least the original jingle will live on in the memories of people for years to come. And the ballad reaches
The
its end.
ballad. I'm sure that's the one part of the story that we all wish we could forget.
So, I don't know, a lot to process there.
I mean, it's very interesting. I I really I really enjoyed this one.
Yeah.
I really like hearing this very strange arc of. I mean, it's not a rags to riches story. They grew up with money, or at least enough to be taken care of, the
They
both
were
of
like
them.
upper middle class,
But
certainly.
they both really push themselves, and it's a very interesting case study in where different people get off the rocket ship.
Right.
You know, like Barnes didn't want to get off ever. Like he was like
Right.
strapped in, ready to go. We're not stopping until I own the fucking contiguous U.S. and beyond, right? Um, and I don't know. I really I when this started with Cellino saying that he was going to bring on as many cases as possible and going after all the people who owed senior money and
Yeah.
all that, I figured, oh my god, this guy's going to be such a gargantuan piece of shit. And I'm really surprised. I mean, a lot of people do charity work and are still assholes, but that sometimes that doesn't matter when you're just getting the job done with things like building homes, for
Yeah.
people who need them. You can kind of be whoever you
And
need to be at that point, right? And
well, I mean, of course you shouldn't, be an abusive asshole, but at the same time, that
you
work you're
shouldn't, but
talking
but that
about.
but a lot of people talk a big game and don't build houses for poor people,
Right. Right.
right? So um I'm it's very intriguing, and I'm still, the one puzzle piece I feel we're missing here is that I don't think we ever really got uh Barnes's I don't think we ever got his true feelings out of the way. I think if he had a chance to go back and talk about it now, I've got a feeling we'd hear. I don't know that we would actually have heard anything more sensitive about the guy from himself. But I think if he were going to speak candidly about it, we would have heard that he was afraid to lose not not just half of his business, but a trusted friend and
Right.
It's one thing to have control, to feel
I
like
don't
you're
think
the.
he knew how to respond to that at all.
Well, the thing is, even though I think Cellino's a year older, I kind of look at it like, I don't know if Cellino saw it this way, but I think Barnes kind of saw himself as the big brother, even though he was technically a little younger. They're basically the same age.
I'm
So
guessing he saw himself as the stronger one.
yeah, so for him, it's like, I'll let you back in when I think you're ready in, and it's like it could even be a whole tough love thing. But
Yeah.
when Cellino says, "I want out," he's lost control now.
Yeah.
Barnes liked being in control of the direction of where this was going, and him allowing Cellino to come in and contribute where he wants to allows him that control. When Cellino says, "I'm not riding the ship anymore, and I'm not going to give you the whole geography," even though he's taken just a little bit of the geography. He's still saying, "You're going to have your own map now. I'm not leaving you with our map."
Yeah.
And that was a lot for him. And yeah, the only comment we really got of it is, he'll have his billboard, I'll have my billboard, and it'll be fun to see all the money we spend.
And of course, everything about the cocksuckers.
Yeah, I think like you said, I'm sure there was some fear there, but you weren't going to hear it from him. Look, they're both wildly
No.
successful people, and it didn't. Again, like many of these stories, it didn't have to end this way. So many other ways
No,
to win.
no, there were a lot of steps along the way where they could have had something more amicable, but then it wouldn't have made for such an interesting story.
No,
I do, of course. I mean, it's not great that it does feel like this kind of got cut short with Barnes's death.
of course, and that's why I'm saying, like, I'm serious. I always, when these guys, and it's always these guys that like really strong, really alpha guys that like controlling machinery, being outside I'm like, fine, do all that. When you fly a small plane, it is I don't care how much training you have. We've seen it happen too often. People with the training
Yep. Well,
still crash.
if you do things often enough and you get too comfortable doing it, there's a
Right.
whole studies have been done about how getting more comfortable with something is really not a safe
It's not always the
prospect.
way to go.
I mean,
Yeah.
I forget his name, but I think it's Bobby something. There's a very famous picture of a guy falling out of a plane. Oh no, I'm sorry. That isn't the one who the picture is taken of. I don't think. Um, but there's a very famous story about a skydiver who, he was so comfortable jumping out of planes that one day he forgets to put on the parachute and he jumps. And it's just like, yeah, that's how used to it he got,
Nah.
right? So, so I could see something like that happening, but it really does sound like something happened to him during operation that no one
Yeah,
could have
that's
accounted for.
probably
I
it.
mean, a lot of people fly small planes, and a lot of people do it successfully every day, and you know they have checklists for shit like that,
They do.
and it's why you have to talk to a tower, right? Because they need to know what's going on. They have to tell you what to do, and that's for a good reason. So
But I also think it's good to have a lot of people aboard. Like, I'm glad he had. I mean, I'm not glad because of how it ended up, but I think it happens a ton when it's the pilot themselves. But even though small, when you have a lot of people that you're responsible for, I think a lot of times you are extra on your game. But if you're with family or you're with friends and you do things a lot,
it's comfort. It's comfort.
yeah, it ends up being comfort. Yeah, sucks. It would have been good to hear more from him, but life cut too short. But still, look, you can't say these men didn't have a legacy, because they sure do. A legacy
Absolutely.
in New York
And if
history.
it's not the law firms, it's this very weird story of how they got started.
How they got started, their damn jingle, the litigation between each other, the emails,
The cocksuckers.
the cocksucker, the why people give birth, and just how it's akin to fucking going to war and using an M16. I mean, it's just there's so many gems there. Will there? I mean, will there
Oh,
ever be another Cellino and Barnes? I don't know.
we can only hope that the children or grandchildren of both these men
Yeah.
all decide to come together in unison to form Cellino and Barnes too, the re-Barnesoning.
Well, on that's one hell of a ball up, and yeah, we'll be back with more.
I can't wait.
I got a whole list of insanity.
Excellent.
So,
See you
see you
in
next
episode
time.
4, man.